Welcome to Anxious Wow, a podcast that explores the intersection of mental health and wellness, being a minority in America, living with pride, and just the ghetto-ness of adulthood. Hi, I'm Emperor.
And I'm Tevin, and welcome to our latest episode. Whether you're an active member of the Anxious Wild family or this is your first episode, welcome, and we hope you enjoy this conversation.
So, it's just me and Tevin today, so I'm going to hit us with the icebreaker for today. So it is, what is a holiday dish you can't stand? There's a lot of them you don't like.
Yeah, I'm a picky eater.
You only have like 3 things you eat throughout the holiday time.
I'll say anything with sweet potatoes or yams.
Why?
I had sweet potato pie when I was as a kid one time, and I can't stomach it or stand the taste of it, the smell of it. Just keep it away from me.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, I guess it has to be like all the pies that they have. Like, I just don't really care for it. Like, I like apple pie, but like all that pumpkin pie and the sweet potato pie and all other stuff, I just don't really care for. Doesn't do anything for me.
What about cake?
I like cake, but I don't like pie.
So what if someone made a pie that looks like a cake?
How would that look like?
I don't know. I didn't make it.
Also, because I don't eat pork, so I don't anything with like benin, all that stuff. I don't eat that either. So don't give it to me.
I guess it depends on the culture of the Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner you're at, what
That's
you're gonna
true.
get. Because I think growing up we have ham. I don't eat that.
Right.
I don't eat red meat, so I really only eat turkey, mac and cheese.
Chicken?
My mom never really made chicken. It was always turkey.
Really?
Yeah, it's turkey. It's a holiday.
But
Poultry.
even like for like holiday time, like no chicken?
No, poultry is turkey.
I thought turkey was just like for like giving thanks. That's it.
What?
What?
For giving thanks.
Yeah, I don't say the other way around because I learned what it stands for and I don't want to say it.
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying now. Yeah, so what's making you anxious for a day or the week or the time?
Well, unfortunately, I suffer from cluster headaches.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of have a minor one right now. I'm gonna get through it, and they come back.
Push through.
Huh?
You're going to push through it.
I have to push through it. But they're excruciatingly painful,
Mm-hmm.
and for some reason, it started to come back into my life the past 2 weeks. And I've been getting like 2 to 3 a day, and yeah, it's been really making me anxious and just driving me crazy. What about you?
Well, this is the first episode we've had since the election. So, that's what's really making me anxious.
You and a lot of other people.
I'm trying to find out where I can go. Maybe France.
You keep saying France. France is where you want to live?
Yeah, oui.
Do you
Where
have
I
a
live.
passport to go to France?
I don't.
So how you gonna get there?
I don't know. I'll find someone.
When is the wheels away, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
We're going to get there. Mm-hmm. So, ready to get into the topic for today?
That's right. So y'all already know, guys. Merriam and Webster still on vacation. I don't know where they are. You said she was getting back surgery.
No, I said she was on vacation because she had back surgery because she was carrying all the weight.
She ain't carried nothing. I still haven't heard from her.
She's sick of you.
Well, my backup Oxford, he came through. The definition is lonely. Sad because one has no friends or company. That's a sad definition.
It is a very sad definition because loneliness, lonely, whatever, is not a fun thing to talk about, not a fun thing to be.
It's not. It said no friends or company. Goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be lonely when people's around you, though.
Yeah, it's true. You could be. We live in New York City. You could be lonely with 8 million people all around.
That's true. You could have like quote unquote friends and family and still feel like you're very lonely, although there's people who are surrounding you.
Mm-hmm. I can't say I know how that feels, but I know of people who have experienced that.
Oh, I'm one of them. That's why I said what I said.
Oh, okay. And we're talking about loneliness because we're talking about being lonely during the holidays.
Right.
And that's something that seems like it's more and more common these days as people steer away from tradition and don't necessarily force themselves to go around their families and try to find their own chosen family. And during that process, it can be lonely trying to find like-minded people.
The bigger thing is I wonder why people are, well, I guess, the question is why so many people do not want to be around their families around the time where, holiday times is like synonymous with like, being around family and friends and celebration and, recapping and saying, hey, I haven't seen you the whole entire year. Let's have a conversation or just like, catch up. But it's coming to a point where it's like, oh gosh, people are dreading to go see family members, or you see on social media where, there's so many like clapbacks, like, oh, if I'm with my aunt, I'm gonna say
It's my
this, or my
favorite time
uncle, I'm
of the
gonna
year.
say
It's the most
that.
wonderful time of the year.
It's crazy. It's really crazy. But yeah, people are experiencing loneliness around this time. And a lot of it is, people do a lot of self reflecting throughout the end of
Hmm.
the year. And a lot of times people beat themselves up on what they didn't accomplish or what they didn't do. And then they get into their heads and then they sit there and say, like, oh, they feel like a failure or they don't feel good enough. So they don't want to go around their family or friends and sit there and be like, yeah, so this year I didn't really accomplish that much.
Hmm. Took the words right out of my mouth. They don't want to go around their families because, especially if you're that one in the family who everyone always hyped up as a kid, it was like, oh, they're going to be this, they're going to do that. And then you don't live up to those ideals that those family and friends really had for you. It can be disappointing. And it might not necessarily even be disappointing to your family members because they're supposed to love you either way. It could be you could be overthinking it and really making it into something bigger than what it really is. I mean, there are still instances where the family does hold it against you, and they're like, "Oh, you a bum. You ain't do this. You ain't do that." But you gotta try.
I mean, but maybe that's what it is. You say a lot of people now are staying away from tradition.
Yeah.
So that's probably what happened. They probably went to go see their family. Maybe they chose a different path versus what their family thought they should do. And they don't want to hear every year about how they're quote unquote a disappointment. Family's good at throwing shots out you without being direct.
Hmm.
Like, oh, you're still doing that? Oh, you're still in that industry? Oh, couldn't be me. I'm like, yeah, but
What are you doing, Aunt
yeah,
Shirley?
yeah, Aunt Shirley, what are you doing? Like, what's going on with you? Like, what's up with you? You still with, with your husband who's cheating on you every single day, but you weren't about me not going to law school? Like, I'm not understanding this.
Yeah, I can't. Mm-mm.
Well, my Aunt Shirley's and them, they better not say nothing to me.
I didn't know you had an Aunt Shirley.
I do. I have an Aunt Shirley or Bernadine, and, they
A who
twins.
Bernadine?
Aunt Bernadine, that's
Oh, at
right.
first you said Bernadine. I'm like, who's that?
And they in the same place I saw them 15 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Shout out to
sad.
y'all for being stagnant.
Well, on to the next day. A lot of people, I thought a lot of people, like I've experienced loss this year, but that could be a big contributing factor to why a lot of people feel lonely during the holidays as well.
Mm.
Like if you lost a parent, an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent, whatever, the holidays are the times where you really are embracing these people and they're around, and that one missing face from the Thanksgiving table can be a big deal and can
Absolutely.
really change the whole dynamic of how you feel about the holidays.
Of course. Especially when that person was maybe the one who brought the chair or that one that you was looking forward to seeing. You
Hmm.
have that family member you kind of like, oh, I haven't seen you in a while, I really want to see you. And then the realization hits that they're not a part of that anymore. And it messes you up, whether you're a kid or an adult. It's
Hmm.
just, I know death is inevitable, but it doesn't make it any easier.
Yeah.
And then, a lot of times people deal with death around the holiday times too. I know someone, unfortunately, who lost someone on Thanksgiving. So, I'm sorry, on Giving Thanks Day. So every time that comes around, they just don't want to celebrate because it just hurts so bad. And, people told them, like, you have to keep moving and, keep living on. But I don't know how that feels. So I can't really give that advice as far as that you have to keep pushing through because, like, every time the holidays come around, it reminds you that you lost your daughter. So
Hmm.
it's really hard for people to kind of like push through and be cheerful. I mean, holiday time for kids seems to be so much fun. They get the toys. Well, they play with toys still. I don't know what kids play with anymore. Maybe
They play with some things.
phones, iPads, whatever it is right now. But for adults, it seems to be very, very stressful. Like
Hmm.
people put themselves in debt around this time to buy gifts for people who are ungrateful. Um, they feel like they have to go out their way to impress someone with something, and then you start off the new year just in a negative, in a negative deficit. A negative deficit. That makes any sense? In a deficit.
So I'm like, both things are negative.
A
So,
lot of things are negative.
mhm. But yeah, even like going back to the missing family member, it Can be a lot, unless it's a family member who made you sit at the children's table. Then you might not necessarily miss their face as much, but
I mean, maybe.
maybe I don't know, but they'll figure it out.
They will.
hmm Also, as I think about this time, is like a lot of people may have moved during the year. I'm someone like I live here in New York City, and just about all of my family is spread out across the country.
Mm.
So I guess I used to work a job where I could not take off Black Friday, even though I worked in an office setting. Um, and that time was very lonely, I would say, to have to be here on Thanksgiving, not be able to go home on Thanksgiving proper. I would always go home like that Friday on the evening of Black Friday. But to not be able to be home on Black Friday, not be able to be home on Thanksgiving proper was a lot. Like I just think about my mom not being there, my grandmother not being there, and just not being able to be at the dinner to break bread with them. It's like a lot to think about, and it could be heavy. And like I said, in this city of 8 million people, you feel alone.
Especially when like you're used to, 'cause, you have a very close family. So your grandmother, your mom, you're used to being around them. Like y'all really big on tradition, which I love. So for you not to be able to make it, I know it's kind of sad. It was hard, kind
Mhm.
of hard on all of you guys. But the biggest thing is, why did you have to work Black Friday when you worked in the office? I mean, I feel like, especially working from home, you could have sat there and did things remote and got things done. And like you had to run into a
Yeah,
store.
I could log into VPN and do stuff. So I don't understand. That's still a question to this day.
You know why? Because I feel like the people at the top, because they're lonely and miserable, a lot of them, and they can't see their family, so they want everybody else to suffer.
Well, what's that got to do with me?
I don't know, but what's that thing? Misery loves company.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted the company,
Mm-hmm.
and it worked.
um, I would say another thing, just like going over like all of the different dimensions of like what can contribute to loneliness during the holidays when you think about someone being within the LGBTQ plus community, and this could be the first year that you came out, and either your family doesn't know or they weren't very receptive to you coming out. Is kind of like, oh, I live in New York, but I'm from, no offense to people from here, I'm from Alabama. And my family is religious and they're not open. And when I go home, it's feels like I can't really connect with them the way that I want to connect with them, because either I'm still hiding this or they're rolling their eyes or saying snide remarks because they don't necessarily agree with my quote unquote lifestyle that I quote chose.
There's a lot of quote unquotes in that. But my thing at the end of the day is, if you love your child or your brother or your cousin, whatever, then they're coming to you at their true, authentic self. You teach at a young, kids at a young age. We should to be your authentic self and just to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
So now that I'm coming to you as my authentic self, based on what the world going against what the world is saying, you're sitting there, you're shutting me out as well. So that doesn't feel good. Whether it's them first coming out or they already told you already, why are you making them feel uncomfortable? Let's talk about the cousin who didn't even graduate high school because they felt like being a loser.
Yeah, I felt the
Or
people that aren't contributing members of society always get the pass when
always,
you're living your true life.
well, they get a pass when they look a certain type of way.
Well, that's on them. It's not on me. But
Hmm.
you also have the other end of the spectrum where you may have came out, but because your family was not receptive, you do not want to go home and have to deal with all the drama. And then you're forced to like figure out what to do in your home city during the holidays when you traditionally aren't there. And so it's like, oh, I don't know, I'm still building this new community because I just came out, or if I don't have that community because I was living not living my true life, um it's like, what do I do? And this is like the moment where you're like, you're transforming, you're becoming your true self, but what can I do to build these new traditions? Because a tradition can be hard to build because it has to have multiple people who are committed to keeping that tradition. And then also you have to think about people who are adult. You have different responsibilities. Maybe you had a kid this year. Maybe, like I said earlier, your job doesn't allow you to be able to travel and whatever during the holidays. So you have to just stay put, and you can't really go to where you really want to go. So like there's another thing where you have to try to build these new traditions. Maybe you have other coworkers who aren't from your hometown as well, and y'all both are trying to figure out what to do during that time. So like how do you present yourself to that? How do you come up to that coworker and just really talk about, oh, or do you want to go to dinner together? Do you want to get an overpriced $100 prefix dinner at th- this expensive restaurant in the West Village during this time? Or do you want to try to cook at home? We both don't cook. So maybe we'll just have burnt food together and just try to figure it out.
I think a lot of times, some jobs are not being understanding. There
Mm-hmm.
are people who, want to go home for the holidays and they want to see people and they, want to go see old friends or old colleagues. And the job is like, well, we need you. And I'm like, well, I'm here for you throughout the other, the majority of the year. I take up the extra shifts. I'm extremely reliable. Why can't I go away to go see my family? Like, especially when, people hire seasonal associates and under that guise is if we're hiring you around the season time, it's for you to be available during that. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times people say, yes, that's why they hire you. So your core, employees should be able to have the option to at least go home, or if it's really that bad, at least compromise with them. Like, hey, do you want to choose, Thanksgiving or the holiday time, whatever you celebrate? But a lot of people are not understanding, and living in New York City, rent is absolutely crazy. So sometimes people don't want to take that risk with just like maybe not come back to a job because some people, retaliation is real, unfortunately, or losing out on that check. But it's not cool. Like that's not cool for you to sit there. And a lot of people who are in New York City aren't native here, so for them to sit there and say, "I just want to go away for 2 3 days," like it shouldn't be a problem. But
It
when
shouldn't
you
be.
scared to even ask because your boss is a tyrant or the job is saying like, "We need all hands on deck. Don't ask for no time off." You kind of go, "Okay, great." So now you're still at home. Yes, you could FaceTime people, but it's not the same.
No, it's not. But I guess that leads to like different ways that you can try to still keep those traditions despite being 1,000 miles away from your family and friends that you normally spend the time with. You mentioned FaceTime, that it may not be the same, but sometimes that is the best way, whether it's you propping a phone down on a table and you cooked your own little mini Thanksgiving and you're eating it with family members. Your mom sends you mails you food somehow, some way, and
Held you food.
yeah, in some dry iced box or something. She's like, "Oh, I made this so you can have the same food," or you're eating
I
McDonald's.
hope not.
I hope not either, but sometimes that's the only
No, it's not.
thing that's open on Thanksgiving.
No, it's not.
That's
Go
not
to a
what we're
diner.
doing.
Go somewhere.
Yeah, but you can't. I guess you could set up FaceTime in the diner, but and you won't necessarily be in the room by yourself either if you're in a diner. So you can try to, and then yeah, you can try to do that.
Yeah, but yeah, FaceTime is not enough.
No, it can be, but sometimes that's the only thing we have, unfortunately.
I mean, it's better than like pre FaceTime and stuff like that where you can't really see anybody.
Yeah, at least you can see though.
Right.
But I guess if that's your first year, you can FaceTime. But hopefully by the time next year comes around, you may have built a little clan that you can have a little Thanksgiving or whatever with, and they may be in the same boat as you.
I mean, that's why people have Friendsgiving too.
Yeah, but Friendsgiving normally is the weekend before Thanksgiving.
Okay, but that's better than not doing anything.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, you never been in one, have you?
No, no. I feel like people normally come over to my house, but no one really hosts at their house.
Why is that?
I don't know. I am a good host though, but
Yeah, you are.
another way just to like really try to feel good to the holidays. Sometimes just giving back. You may not be able to go home for Thanksgiving, but do something that makes you feel good, whether it's going to a soup kitchen or something and helping the homeless eat or something. You have a community of people there who are doing the same thing that you're doing. So you have like that common bond with someone at least for a couple of hours.
That's true. Giving back is always great, especially, you know, to people who are less fortunate. Me coming from somewhere where, I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth, which I shared a few times, where, we had to fight for everything. So I know what it is to like just wait for your next meal or to hope that money drops in. So just to give back to people who need it is also very noble. And again, you might end up meeting people who you could build a community with, like you said before, right?
Hmm.
Like it's a lot of times you have to share um, same things or have a commonality with someone else. And that can be the possible thing. Like that'd be a great way to kind of make a friend. We both became cool based off of us trying to help people, and then maybe next year we could do our own like little thing. But yeah, giving back definitely helps, and you won't necessarily be alone because a lot of these people are by themselves
Yeah.
and they feel the pressure of the holiday time just because they don't have anyone or they don't have anywhere to stay, right? So it just kind of forces you to be grateful and to know that giving back is definitely something you should do.
I plan to give back this holiday season.
How?
I'm going to volunteer at a soup kitchen.
That's real nice.
Yeah,
I've done it before. You've done it before, right?
I've done it a couple times. I didn't do it that much in the summer, and then I wanted to start back up in the fall. I've just been so busy, but
Mm.
I put it on my calendar, so we're gonna do it.
Okay, I'm here for that.
Mm. And I'm gonna be Santa Tevin.
Santa Tevin?
Yeah,
Okay.
you don't like that name? I gotta find
No,
a
I
new
don't.
one.
Find something
Okay,
better.
wow. And so we talked a lot about people who feel lonely during the holidays, but what about if you aren't necessarily a lonely one, but you have a friend who you know is lonely during the holidays and like whether they've experienced loss or they have family who they're in New York, their family's all the way in California or Hawaii or Alaska and they can't make it home. What advice would you have?
Well, I would tell them just to keep the faith, and I would invite them to hang out with me. Like, especially if I'm in New York City
Mhm.
and you're by yourself, I'm not gonna have any of my friends be lonely.
Mhm.
I said, so I'm gonna come through. We can, come be with my family, come be with us, and just come hang out. But if that's not something they want to do, I'll tell them just don't wallow in just like depression because it can definitely happen. A lot of people experience some type of or form of depression during the holiday time
Yeah.
because of things like that. And or
Holidays is a very depressing time.
it is. Or I would recommend them to um, go to a therapist or speak to a therapist. Maybe they can have that conversation with someone and, express everything that is going on with them.
Yeah, volunteering is definitely something that helps. I just think just finding some type of hobby or routine, just to like maybe in the holiday season, you can find a way to stick to your normal routine. So whether like there are some gyms that are open on the holidays. My cycling instructor, she's teaching on Thanksgiving, so that's just something that you can really kind of do those days to try to still maintain that normal routine, so your mind is not really on being lonely or depressed during the holidays. And for those who may have seasonal depression because of money issues during the holidays, there are those seasonal jobs out there that you talked about earlier. So maybe your solve to not being lonely during the holidays is to be at work and getting that holiday pay.
That's true.
Whether like you could be in a retail store, grocery store, whatever, but there are many options out there for those who are unfortunately lonely during this time of the year.
Yeah, I mean, also, kind of dig deep into like why you're lonely and kind of say, what can I do not to be lonely?
Yeah.
Like, right? Like, what is fulfilling for you? Is it necessarily you being around certain type of people? Well, if you know, like your closest friends are, they travel a lot for the holiday and you miss them and you don't have that sense of like community, then kind of build one, right? There's so many different like forums and outlets and people who are in the same boat as you, and you could probably kind of build something off of that
Hmm.
and also kind of set yourself up for success, right? You already know around the holiday times, things like this happen. So don't wait till November, December to try to figure things out. Like July, August, September, like, all right, I know holidays coming. I know I'm not going home. I know I'm not doing this. I know my friends are going here. Let me just, kind of plan now
Yeah,
what I
plan
want to
ahead of
do.
time so
Hmm.
that you don't have to try to figure things out at the last minute. I think planning is just something that everyone should do with the holidays, whatever, because travel, even if you're not lonely, traveling gets expensive.
Yeah,
I
it's
grew,
extremely
I
expensive.
grew up in Delaware. It's a $300, well, $200 to $300 train ticket just to go for a 2 hour train ride, which is wild.
That's crazy. I
Cause
remember the planes were cheaper during some times than
yeah,
that. That's crazy.
and like pre-pandemic, it was like I would say 200 at most to get a ticket to go there, and now it's just everything's like out of control. People claim that's the reason they voted the way they voted during the election, but we're not gonna go there.
No, we're not.
But yeah, everything's just like so overpriced. Even food's overpriced. That's something that you need to plan ahead of time, and what you're gonna wear, where you're gonna go, all that. Like planning for the holidays is something that's essential, and that really can help you feel less lonely if you plan months and months ahead of time. And back to those people who may necessarily like have those friends or family who are feeling lonely, just check in on them. Like you just saying hi, how are you doing could just mean a lot and make them feel like someone is there and someone is on their side while they're going through this lonely period. Because being lonely, cold, and well, if you're in the Northeast or Midwest or whatever, the cold season, just being lonely and all that's a lot, and that can really take a very, very large toll on your mental that we don't need happening. So normally we have enlightenment with E, but today it's going to be enlightenment with T. And today we're talking about not letting fear deter you from accomplishing your dreams. Fear can stop you from accomplishing a lot of things in life and can really block you from achieving your blessings. So, whether you're scared of what's next, you're scared of spending money because you don't know what's going to happen with this big dream you're trying to accomplish, you're scared of traveling, you're scared of what your friends and family are going to say, all of that is just adding up and stopping you from getting to the next step in your life. So, you really just need to just focus on like what's going to make you happy and just take that big leap of faith. You don't know if those fears are not warranted. They could be warranted, but don't sit around and just sit in a stagnant place because you're scared of what's going to come. Like starting a new job is scary. Going to make new friends is scary. But all of those things that you tried, hopefully those have worked out for you. And if not, you just fail and you continue to go. Fail. Don't be scared of failure because failure is the biggest thing that teaches you life lessons. It's where sometimes you meet other people who may come in your corner because they see that you're failing and they don't want you to fail. So just don't let fear stop you from getting to where you need to go in life, and just take that leap of faith like I said. And this is enlightenment with T today. So now it's time for our viewer question.
Okay.
It's going to be me again.
Okay, excuse me.
Yeah, I'm taking. So this one is from Lee from Alabama. And his question is: every year, my family gatherings are filled with drama and unsolicited advice. One relative always brings up politics, and another loves to criticize my life choices. I end up counting down the minutes until I can leave. How can I set boundaries or managing my emotions to survive these gatherings without ruining the holiday spirit or sacrificing my peace?
There's two things you can do. You can not go, or you can just let them know, like, listen, I ain't with it this year. Like,
Yeah.
this is what it is. I'm here to eat, hang out. I don't want to hear nobody's drama. I don't want to hear it. If you gonna approach me with that, I'm not gonna pay attention to you.
Hmm.
So I think those are kind of things you could possibly do. Like, just that's setting boundaries. I'm not talking about this. I'm not doing this. I'm not moving that way. I'm not doing this way. Whoever has an issue with it, that's on them.
Yeah, I agree. I think you really just have to like, I guess, demand that respect, because as long as you sit around and just let people say whatever they're going to say to you, they're just going to feel like it's okay.
Right.
So if you sitting around like, don't talk to me like that, or if you have a problem with me being here, I could leave. But you're not just gonna sit around and be like, oh, you're doing that because this is your life choice. It's my life. It's
Right.
not your life. So leave me alone
So
and
leave me
stay out of
alone.
it.
I think people always think, like, I don't know why everyone has an opinion on someone else's life. Like, worry about yourself.
I'm gonna give a gift this year.
What's the gift you
Your
giving
own business. So stay out of mine. Well, that's all the time we have for today.
That's it.
Follow at Anxious Wild on all social media platforms. Visit anxiouswild.com to learn more about the show, access important resources, and more. Sign up for the Selfish Edit, our monthly digest full of self-help tools, words of affirmation, playlists, and even more. And if you have any questions, send us a DM, hop into our question and suggestion box, or email us at hi@anxiouswild.com. See you next time.
See you later. Bye.